In this episode, we're talking to Steve Scott about how AI has changed the game for SEO and the strategies that you need to use to rank your business in Google in 2025. So stick around. If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now, let's get to it with today's guest. Welcome, Trailblazers. Steve, we're excited to have you with us today. Before we dive into all the nitty-gritty of the details and strategies, why don't you give a little background for our audience and let them know a bit about what you do and where this all comes from?
Sure. Yeah. I've been in the SEO digital marketing game since 1997. So I'm kind of a dinosaur in all of this. I have been teaching SEO to corporations and small and medium businesses for over 15 years as part of another organization. And I do client agency work for generally service-oriented businesses as well for the last 25 plus years. Been working from home that long as well. Been a user of these kind of platforms since before Zoom was even a named brand. I've been teaching, consulting, and doing training agency services for, like I said, 25, 27 years now.
That's awesome. So AI, I think people are starting to recognize when they do a search in any of the main platforms these days, AI has kind of changed the game a bit and what's coming up at the top of the search results. So how does this affect SEO and everything that people are doing to get people's attention online?
So what's interesting about AI is that it doesn't really impact SEO from the standpoint of what you have to do on your website or how to build links or, social media. It doesn't really impact that. What it's impacting is the fact that I think it's 54% of searches that are being done now on Google are no-click searches. So people aren't clicking on anything. And that's the biggest issue that we're seeing. So if you are in SEO, if you are in digital marketing, what you have to understand is you have to find new ways to get your clients or get your business, if it's your own business, to be visible, right? And so, but the tactics that are going to get you in the rankings haven't really changed. So what's going on now is, all right, we've got to find new ways to be able to be in the Google search results, what they're calling zero-click searches, right? Because you don't actually click on anything. You enter something in and then you read what's there and you go, okay, I'm good. And you move on. And then you also have AI coming into play from a search perspective in that a lot of folks are not going to Google anymore, right? They're just going to ChatGPT or one of the other engines, the answer engines, as they're calling them basically, and asking a question, getting an answer. So now it's more as an SEO, if you're an agency or if you're an owner and you are trying to figure out how do I reach my client, it's strictly not going to be just from your website. Right now, it's like, how can I get my link, for example, into ChatGPT? How can I be a part of the AI overviews? How can I be a part of those people also ask questions? So it's more about finding new and different ways to get the word out. Just like when social media came around, right? Nobody really did social media. Nobody knew what it was. Everybody, especially businesses, buried their head in the sand early on. Didn't want to do it. Waste the money, waste the time. And now it's become a point where if you go to a website and the business doesn't have a Facebook page, for example, you're like, what's going on here? Why is there no Facebook page? And so AI is kind of in that same space right now. We're just kind of getting used to it. We don't really, as a user of AI yet, we're not really sure of it yet. We're not really sure of, is the answer is right? We've heard a lot of, hey, well, AI gets it wrong, or ChatGPT says it's AI generated when it's not, or they give you a wrong answer. So there's still, I think, a little bit of mystery in the real world about AI. And that's sort of what I think as we begin to learn more about it, as it becomes more integrated into just our consciousness, right? And as it becomes a bit more integrated into search results, I think that's really where the big change is coming in 2025, 2026 as we go forward.
So as far as those AI search results go, is there a strategy to rank or to get mentioned by ChatGPT or something when they're creating an answer for people?
Yeah, so a lot of it's going back to some of the technical stuff that we're seeing with Google and other things. So Google got together with Bing and Yahoo and a few of the other bigger engines, like I think Baidu and Yandex and the other foreign engines, and put together what's called structured data. Schema.org is a place. The structured data, though, is basically a way to speak to the engines in a language they've helped create. So, like if you are putting on an event, right? An event's going to have a date and an event happens, the name of the event, the host of the event, maybe if it's at a venue, what the venue is, things like that. And so what we're seeing a lot more of is now, in order to kind of begin to get that sense of, hey, I want to be able to get on that first page of Google in those 0-click areas, that you now have to give and feed the engine sort of the information that's really what they're looking for. Now, don't get me wrong, they can certainly read your page and see your content, understand what's there. They've been doing that forever and have gotten much better at it over the years. But what's happening now is by putting some of the structured data in the background, videos, job postings, Q&As, FAQs, images, and so on down the line, you are now feeding up to Google and the other engines information about that event or that thing in their language. And they're using that to kind of incorporate some of that into the portions of search that are there. Now, I'm not 100% certain yet how to get your links into ChatGPT. We're actually researching that right now ourselves because it is something that's recently come out. I have not spent enough time with that yet. And this is something that internally, that from my training clients, that I'm really trying to get more involved with, because AI, answer engine optimization, AI overviews, these are some of the things that we're hearing a lot more about these days. Like, the business owners want to know, how do I get there? How can I be found here? How do I get into ChatGPT, right? So we are starting to develop new classes in the coming year that focus a bit more on these topic areas, so people can learn a bit about it, help themselves get into these areas, and continue to move the needle forward for them.
Yeah, I find that interesting because we've actually had people who've come through and applied to be on one of our podcasts and said that they found our podcast and found how to apply and everything through ChatGPT. That was kind of surprising. I mean, that was great. It was wonderful, but it was like, really? We didn't do anything to make that happen.
Yeah, so we're trying. So if you didn't do anything, that's part of what we're kind of getting at, right? Is it? I'm not 100% certain, to be honest. I'm being fair here. It's very new, and we're trying to really get a better understanding of, is it, hey, I got to be a paid user of ChatGPT. Hey, I've got to pay them. Hey, I've got to put something on my website. Hey, it's like, these are some of the things that we're still trying to figure out on our end of things, to be honest. But we're starting to see more of it. And, even internally, from a standpoint of doing SEO, we're going to AI for a lot of things as well. I do a lot of training regularly, and I go to AI to kind of get outlines for stuff and get basics information. It's more so I understand or don't miss anything, right? If I'm putting together an hour-long topic on the Bing Webmaster Tools, for argument's sake, I want to make sure we're hitting all the right points. So it definitely helps with that. It can help with building out titles and descriptions and even content to some extent on your web pages. So we're seeing AI becoming another tool in the tool belt, right? People always freak out when there's new tools, right? They always freak out. And everybody, SEO's dead, SEO's dead. People have been saying that literally for 20 years. It's dead, it's dead, it's dead. It's not dead. It's changing. It's pivoting. Things change. I have content writers that are freaking out over AI, thinking that, oh my God, they're going to be out of business. I'm like, no, you're not going out of business, but now you can create content more quickly. You can have better content ideas more quickly. Don't think of it as a job killer. Think of it as a way to enhance what you do, to do more work quicker, to not miss things, and to be able to make some good, quick changes or adjustments using these tools as a helper. And that's what you have to kind of think of this as, not as a job replacement, but more as a help or a way to do it better. Just like we've had keyword research tools that have helped out and link tools that have helped out, all these different tools that come out, they're not taking jobs away. They're just making your job easier and making it more effective.
Yeah. And I think we've mentioned this several times in the past on this podcast, but just the AI generated content, it repels a lot of people. I know it repels me whenever, I'm doing research for a product that I want to buy or something like that. And I come across a video or a blog post, and it doesn't have that human experience built into the content, right? It's like top 5 blenders on Amazon right now, and you click on the video, and it's just an AI voice with just generic information about stuff that's on, and it's useless content, right? It's empty, useless content. It's nothing that I couldn't have figured out just by going to Amazon itself. Versus when I see something that is obviously done by a real person that has actual products in front of him, and he's giving an actual review and telling about his real experience as a human being, that's valuable to me, and that's what I'm looking for. And so that, I think that type of content is what people crave. One of the things that you mentioned that I kind of want to circle back to is this structured content. And am I getting this right, that Google and the search engines now are looking at the videos that are on your website, and also, the other, like the FAQs and other things that aren't necessarily part of an article? Are they actually analyzing what's in a video now?
Obviously, as you know from YouTube, right? You can put up a YouTube video, and within a few hours, Google's YouTube has the transcript, right? They've got it there, and it looks fantastic. 8 or 10 years ago, it was terrible. Now it's almost perfect. So they are looking at your content. Google likes multimedia stuff on web pages. So they like videos, they like images, they like content, they may like some audio, depending on what you've got. But in using structured data, as it's called, it's behind the scenes. You don't visibly see it on screen. Most users will never see it or never know what it's called. But it's a behind the scenes thing that allows you to say things like how long the video is, what the video is called, what the description of the video is, where the thumbnail for the video is, and additional information like that. And so it allows Google to better understand and to get it right. So it's not that they can't figure it out, but what it does, it helps solidify in search results that it's equivalent, that this is correct. So if they were to put up the title of the video, rather than guessing if it's right, and they're going to get it right most of the time anyway, but by having the structured data, they know exactly what it's called. They know exactly the length of the video. They know exactly where the thumbnail is. And there's no guesswork, because you kind of give an attempt to them in a language they understand, that they actually help co-create to give them a better understanding of what you're putting out there. And there's so much of it now that you can build in behind the scenes. So like I said, it could be, hey, you have an article, a blog, right, on your page. So there's article structure data. You put a video on top in that article. There's video structure data. You have an FAQ section. There's FAQ structure data. And you can add all of this onto the page. So now your users are going to see the video that you put out. They're going to see the FAQ and however you made it so they can interact with the video, with the FAQ. But now Google behind the scenes says, oh, here's question 1, here's answer 1, here's question 2, here's answer 2. And so you've probably already been involved with Google, and you see people also ask, right? Those kind of things, or those can kind of really come from that as well. And then we're seeing a lot more in long form content, where we're seeing summaries at the top of the page, right? You're getting like a summary of what's about to come, because most people, I mean, you've all done it. You're on a long page. You don't read the whole darn thing. You kind of scroll through, looking at the headlines, maybe looking at an image, and maybe you'll stop and read something, and you keep scrolling through. And so these summaries help a user understand what they're about to get into, what they'll figure out if they continue to read through this. Google sees these summaries at the top as well, and can help with understanding some of this AI overview stuff as well, kind of get you more into that area, because you're basically saying, here's what you're going to learn if you read through this. And then someone that really is interested, we've all done this, once you find, yeah, this is good, you go back up, and now you really start to go through it, and you start to, read through it. And so I think what's going on now is, by adding in all the multimedia, putting in all the structured data, behind the scenes stuff, you are now giving the engines a better understanding that you're also doing things that they want, right? You're kind of more modern or current than someone that's not doing it. And it's always about, can you beat out the other guy? Who's the competition? If they're not doing it and you are, you got an advantage. If they're doing it and you're not, you're likely going to be losing to them. And so a lot of the work that we do for clients is we evaluate the competitors. What are they doing? What are they doing right? Are they using structured data? How many pages do they have? Are they using video? Are they using social media? How often are they putting out social media posts? So we look at, and I always use the analogy, it's like, hey, you don't get into a stock car race, a NASCAR race with a pedal car and expect to win, right? You have to go in at least having a chance. And a lot of folks, they'll come to me, they've got a brand new website. I always say a new website's almost like an infant. Right? It's a baby. All a baby knows how to do is eat, poop, and sleep, right? It's got to learn everything else as it goes, and it takes time, right? It takes time and effort and whatnot. And websites are the same way. You don't put up a website and tomorrow you're beating out IBM. It just doesn't happen. And so you have to grow it. You have to build, in Google's eyes, they use a term called EEAT. It stands for expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And this idea of expertise, authority, trustworthiness, that really comes in time, right? Like I always say, like links, for example, links are a lot like referrals are in the real world. There's some stranger, you mentioned the issue with a child, and you're like, okay, well, if you need to have like a pediatric surgeon work on your child, right? God forbid, and you ask the squeegee guy at the Lincoln Tunnel, who's the best pediatric surgeon in the country? And they go, oh my God, you got to call Dr. Jones, right? Well, what are the odds you're going to call Dr. Jones? Probably slim to none. But if you talk to a well-known, well-respected pediatric surgeon from a well-known pediatric hospital, and they go, hey, I can do it, but you really should talk to Dr. Jones, you're going to beat down every door that you can to get to Dr. Jones. It's the same name, but the referral source is different. That's what makes you act. And so it's the same thing. When you have links to your pages from respected, well-known websites out there that are linking to you, it boosts your credibility, right? It's like, hey, these guys are linking to you, so there must be some value in what you're offering because somebody well-known, well-respected links to you. And that builds that authority and that trustworthiness and so on. And so it's these things that take time and you have to grow. So if you're a new, business owner or you're just starting a new business, don't expect to compete with the guys at the top right away, right? You have to build it. You have to work it. It's not, what is it? Field of dreams, build it and they will come. Is that it? It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Especially in competitive industries. It's one thing if you're in a super niche industry or you're in a super niche industry in an area. Like I always use an example of, I'm in the Tampa Bay area, right? Not a whole lot of ice skating rinks in Tampa Bay, right? So if you say, hey, where can I get an ice skating rink near me? You're going to get a wide swath of area, maybe out to Orlando and whatnot. But if you do the same thing in, let's say, Toronto, Canada, you're probably going to have a much tighter area of where those ice skating rinks are. And so the more narrow your niche is, the more specific what you do is, the more unique what you do is, the better shot you have at ranking quickly. But if not, again, it goes back to it's going to take time. You're going to have some patience. You're going to have to build that trust and authority. You're going to have to get those referrals, right? Those links. You're going to have to put that social stuff out. You're going to have to build an audience like you guys are doing, you've been doing. You have to do that, and it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, new people in the business or trying to get into a business, they think, well, if I put a website up, I'm going to get business right away. I'm going to be ranking number 1 and number 2. No, you're probably not. You're going to have to work it. I think that's the thing.
Yeah. Well, isn't there a sandbox period? Is that what they call it? Well, when you have a new website for Google, it's like they kind of throttle you or they limit you.
No, that was a big deal way back when. I'm talking like 20 plus years ago is when it was truly a sandbox. Like they put you in timeout for like 6 months or so for a long while. Nowadays, no, you can get listed and ranked in a matter of hours, depending on where you are. Okay. And if you're using the right tools to see what's going on, you can see what you're getting ranked for, what you're being found for. And then especially if you're using some of the other tools. So if you're a local business owner, right, you kind of service a particular geographic area. By getting into Google Business Profiles, you can show up pretty quickly depending upon, again, the niche and the space and the area that you're in. But you can go into Google Search Console. You could see what things you're showing up for and what you're coming up for. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time to get found for like very generic, long tail meaning like 4, 5, 6 word phrases, right? People looking, back in the day before we had AI and before we were talking to, Siri and Alexa and Google and, before we were talking to our devices, we'd be like, pizza place, Tampa, pizza place and your zip code, right? Now it's like, hey Siri, where can I find the best slice of pepperoni pizza in the Tampa Bay area? And you're asking these long questions like you're talking to a person. And what's going on now with Google, it's more about intent-based search. So back in the day, if you type pizza place Tampa, if you didn't have pizza place Tampa on your web page, you weren't getting ranked. But now if you say, where can I find the best, slice of pepperoni pizza in Tampa? Well, now Google knows, okay, you're looking for pizza and you're in Tampa. So they understand the intent behind the search. And they're now better at serving up content that's valuable, that they think is going to work, that other people like, that other people refer to, and give you that information. So that's where the changes really kind of come into play. And now with AI kind of on top of it, what we're seeing, and I see this with clients as well, a lot of, you may be even seeing it in your own business, the traffic to your website is probably not what it was last year. Now, maybe you have more percentage-wise. So if you've doubled the amount of like maybe views, have you doubled the traffic? And you might not have, because now you're getting found in other ways. Like you said, you're getting found in ChatGPT. Well, 2 years ago, nobody was using ChatGPT. So you were probably getting found in Google and people coming to Google. Now, coming from different sources, different avenues. Same thing with social, right? We didn't have social a bunch of years back. And now we're getting traffic through social. People come finding you. And you got YouTube, which is, in essence, a video platform, but it's the second biggest search engine after Google. It's owned by Google. So it's like, these are things we're seeing a lot more, and you guys probably doing it too, right? Where podcasts that were strictly audio based are now going on YouTube, and people that were just doing things on Instagram are now also doing YouTube, because the social stuff disappears quickly. YouTube's there forever and always find and search it. So just different ways of going about it.
Right. So as far as keywords go then, and creating your articles and your blog posts around certain keywords, is it less important now to have specific keywords that you're targeting and just more important to just kind of have the general concept and maybe a mix of keywords? Or what's the on-page strategy now?
Yeah, so that's a great question, actually. So it's still important to have a keyword, like do some research, right? What are people actually looking for? And again, what's their intent? Why are they looking for that? Okay. And it's not always the best bet to go after the most searched for keyword, but to go after a keyword or your phrase where you have more value in it. But what's happening now is, back in the day, people would make 200-300 word article, right, around a keyword phrase. And then they would, so I always use a dog training example, because my ex was a dog trainer, and everybody, understands dog training, right? Somebody might say, dog trainer Tampa dog trainer, Tampa, obedience training in Tampa, dog training school, Tampa dog training school. It all means the same thing, right? It means I got a dog, having a problem, I need some help. That's the intent. I need someone to help me with my dog, okay? But those words and phrases back then, people would make an individual small little page with that keyword in it on all the things and try to get that page ranked. And then someone would land on that page and be like, oh, there's not a whole lot of content here, right? And so those days are gone, right? In fact, those kinds of pages began to get penalized by Google a little while back as well. They were like, okay, this is not helpful content, no good. And so what's much better off now, which kind of goes to your question, is you need to have a long form content. You have to put information onto the page that's everything somebody wants to know about dog training. Where are you located? What services are covered? What commands you're going to do? What troubles you may be having and how you can fix it? The whole who, what, where, when, why, how, all that stuff has got to get on that page. And what happens is, if you write a well thought out article that covers all those things, and you're talking about what you do and what you offer, you're naturally going to have a lot of these variations of words in there. And we tend to call it topic drift. All right. When I'm teaching, we call it topic drift, where it's the same thing, but it's said slightly differently, right? And again, what happens is Google sees all the various words, the variations of those words, and they go, okay, by looking at these different words and looking at all this content on the page and looking at all the different various aspects of what you're trying to say in the video and the audio that might be there, we understand what you're saying, and now we can deliver the best piece of content to the user who's trying to find somebody to help them with their dog. And so what you do afterwards with the keyword research, so in my class, I always say, think of your content as a great steak, okay? And keywords are the salt, right? You don't go to the restaurant for the salt, you go for the steak. And if you don't salt the steak, it doesn't taste good. It's bland, right? It doesn't have enough taste. If you oversalt it, you ruin a great steak, right? It's no good. And so it's the same thing with search, right? If you just have one keyword on or no words, then you don't have a really good steak. It doesn't really taste good. If you put too many keywords, you stuff every other word as like a variation of the keyword, the same thing. Nobody wants to read it. The content reads terrible. It feels forced and fake, and it just feels like it's written for the search engines. But if you write a great piece of content and you use the words as you're explaining and describing what you do and how you do it and who you do it for, you're naturally going to get those words in it. So by doing your research, what you do then is you look at all the words and phrases that kind of mirror what the concept of the page is about. And then you just take a look at your steak and you go, okay, is there any salt over here? Is there any salt over here? And you kind of build in or add some of those words and phrases into the content to make it flavorful for the engines. So that's sort of how we look at the keyword research. We're not looking at it as one word per page, make a page for each word, try to get found, the same content. That's no good. Google is way past that, way smarter than they used to be back in the day. Now it's like, give me everything I need to know that's going to help make value for the user. And you've probably done this as well, where you read something and you go, wow, this is really good. and you save it or you share it or you like it, right? But if it's not, and nobody asks you to give them a link, they just write a great piece of content. They put out a great, and you go, wow, this is really good. I want to let other people know about it. And that's what Google's looking for, right? They want you to write great content that people go, wow, and they want to link to it because it's so good. And that's what you're shooting for these days.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I know that there's tools out there for like WordPress sites like Yoast SEO and all-in-one SEO. And when they go through the checklist, like one of the things on there was like keyword density of like, was it 1% or 1.5% or better? Does that still apply now or?
Yeah, not really, because there's a couple of things that are going on here. First of all, I'm a huge fan of Yoast, okay? There's a bunch of them out there too, but I've been using those since the beginning, basically. It's only looking at one word, right? You have lots of words on the page. The other thing as well is that these are guidelines. They're not like rules, hard, fast rules, right? So you'll get a penalty, for example, if your title tag is longer than 60 characters, right? It's the blue link you see in Google. That's called the title tag. And you can control what it says. Problem is, if you go 65 characters, Yoast is going to say, oh, it's too long. Well, technically, you can have title tags at 150 plus or more characters. No, it's not illegal. You're not going to get penalized for it, but only the first 60-ish are going to show. So you want to have those first 60-ish to be, have the call to action, have a trigger, have a benefit, have some reason to make people go, what's this? And click on it. See if with your description tag, you're only going to see about 160-ish characters. And I say ish because it's not by character, it's by pixel width. So that's a whole different story there. So, it's about 150, 155 characters. But if you go over by anything, you're going to get these markers. Oh, you're not as good anymore. And you're going to fail. But it's not. So a lot of these tools, it's understanding what truly goes into a title tag, a description tag, a keyword density, alt tags, what an alt tag looks like and why you need it. Links, where the keywords may or may not be in the page. Understanding why that's the case can help you make decisions on, oh, it's all right, leave that alone, it's fine. Because too many people get hung up on that green light, it's green, yellow, red. And if it's not green, it's not good. And that's not always true. There's plenty of sites and pages that rank terrifically that are yellow, for argument's sake. So they're good tools to help guide you, but think of them as guidance and not like, if I don't do this, I'm totally screwed, because that's not going to be the case.
Now, I know that backlinks are, an important part of building that trust and that authoritativeness and things like that. Is there a specific strategy that you use to generate those backlinks, or are there certain types of backlinks that you really want to shoot for versus others? Because I know at one point, people were getting backlinks by like making comments on other people's blogs and things like that, and those are kind of spammy backlinks. But what's working right now as far as generating those backlinks for your website?
So there's a lot of different strategies, okay? So the primary stuff is, if you're just getting started, you always want to get into your top directories and citation sources, okay? So this is going to be your Facebooks and your Apple Maps and your Google and your, and your Bing and whatnot, some of the social stuff. That you're going to have a bunch of other places out there too. If you go to Google and type in top 50 citation sources, Bright Local, you'll actually get a great list of the top 50 most valuable directories and listings that you can go into, and you can just list your site in there and get yourself there. There's also like niche directories. So if you are in a particular industry, you're a dog trainer, there's lots of other dog training or pet related sites that you can go and ask to get listed in. Some of them are going to make you pay for it. Some of them are going to make you fill out a form, whatever it may be. Then you've got geographical directories, right? So here in the Tampa Bay area, there's something here called like 813area.com, I think it is. And they're all about the 813 area code. And they've got a directory listing for your locality. So look for geographic directories in places where other businesses are listed. Another great strategy is to go take a look at your competitors. Who links to them? So type in your most prized keyword phrase into Google. Look at the top 10 results that show up, and forget the Yelps and the, these big box type brands. You're looking for people that actually compete with you and see, well, who links to them, right? And generally speaking, what we do for our competitive research is, if there's 2 or more competitors have a link from one website and we don't, well, we want to be on that. Because basically, you want to be right where your competitors are, right? Think about the old Yellow Page days where you always had people, they were AAA moving and AAA moving, there's all that. They want to be right there. And so we want to also see who links to our competitors and go that route. That could be a huge help. Topically related stuff is also important. So, in industry too. So if you're an AC repair, and you work with Lennox. And if Lennox links to you, huge value, right? They're in the industry. If you go to a trade school that teaches HVAC repair, if they link to you, that's great. And EDUs and government sites, also really good. Believe it or not, comments on a blog, again, a well-respected, well-known blog in the industry, most of them are not going to even allow links, but they'll maybe have your name and a link back to your website. And those are great as long as you're offering up value to the person that's leaving that link. You're not just putting visit my page, but you're like, hey, I loved your story, but how have you thought about this topic, or what about doing this, or kind of add value to it? That can also be super helpful. We do a lot of things for local businesses. We talk about things like chambers of commerce, Better Business Bureau, like those kind of things too, where other people may go for information. There's lots of chambers of commerce too. I mean, here in the Tampa Bay area, Tampa Bay, St. Pete, Clearwater, I think it's like 24, 25 different chambers. And you can go join them. If, again, you want to be active in them. You want to go out to a meeting here and there. But other businesses may reference you, if you're going out to these regular meetings. So now you're making more inroads into your local businesses. So we do a lot of that. We see people co-sponsoring stuff. Hey, you're a dog trainer and you're a dog groomer. Let's put together a Halloween doggy costume contest or something like that. Let's work together. The groomer puts stuff out. The trainer puts stuff. Now you each reach each other's. But again, the dog trainer and the dog groomer can now, cross promote. They can reach other audiences. They reach a broader audience. They can reach their social platforms. Those are great. And then you also see the outreach stuff, right? You probably get this. I know I get it all the time. Hey, that's all great. Your blog post, blah, blah, blah. I have a link, or I have a document, or I have something that I think would be really valuable. Would you consider linking to it, or would you consider adding it to your thing? And occasionally I'll do that, and sometimes I'll just let it go. But outreach these days is kind of like cold calling. It's just like, it's rare it's going to have any impact on you. So all of those, actually, in my training program, we have one on, I think it's 20 local link strategies that you can do, and different ways to, whether it be sponsoring something. If you go sponsor something, right? Well, you sponsor it, but now the website that you're sponsoring, or the event that you're sponsoring, probably has a page, right? And they can link to you. And you might wind up, in the newspaper, or maybe at the event, you have a booth, or you have something that you can say. You've got cards. All those things build that trust. They build that authority. They help build that, experience and expertise. And that just takes time. It just takes time. So interestingly enough, the link that I'm providing for you guys is about internal linking. So it's about, one of the things, everybody thinks link building and content, but one of the things that's so often overlooked and a super powerful way to really get some additional value is what's internal linking. And I always use the example of, think of Wikipedia, right? Anytime you do informational search, Wikipedia shows up. Is Wikipedia pretty? Does it look nice? No. What is it? It's a bunch of black text, blue links in between. But all of those links lead to other pages of content that are related to that link. And then those other pages may wind up linking back. This is what's called internal linking, and it gives the users a way to get into different parts of your website. It gives the engines a way to find your site or different pages of your site through different means, and it does things that are show your site's likable, because someone comes to your website and then they click on a link in the page because they see something about dog training or obedience training. Let me go read about that. And they go over there. Well, now they've got more time on site, probably, because they're going to be on 2 pages. It may raise your pages per visit type thing, where now that someone's on 2 pages, and it reduces bounce rates. Bounce rates are when people come on our website and then leave right away without ever going to any other page. So internal links actually feed that. They make it kind of push people deeper into your website to learn more, to stay longer, to not bounce away right away. And so these are super simple things that you can do. And the best part is you've got total control over where they go, what it says, where it links to, and so on. And if you're doing this, which most people aren't, I don't mean little buttons. I don't mean call to action buttons. I'm talking about like internal links. Like during the content, there's a blue link with the words in it that take you somewhere else. That's really what we're talking about here. And using that, like Wikipedia, you can really improve your site's SEO value and potential. And it's super simple to do.
Gotcha. What about press releases? I know that was a thing, at least a while ago. Like people do press releases and get backlinks from like CNN and NBC.
A great question. It's funny. A lot of what you're bringing up is really old school. Oh wait, what's funny though about it, right, is that what's old is new again, right? So back in the day, press releases were free. right? You could go to these sites and you can put them in for free. It was just about getting press coverage, right? And SEO folks get involved, like, ooh, we're going to use this to our advantage. We're going to start putting out press release after press release after press release and start getting links back to our website using the same keywords and so on. And then, of course, the press release sites started charging money for it, right? And then they started changing the links to what are called no-follow links. A no-follow link is a link that works like a regular link, but doesn't pass any what we call link juice or any value from it's sort of like getting a referral from someone that's really well known, but you have no idea who they are. We have no idea who they are, right? It's just like invisible, like an anonymous thing. But Google recently, it's a couple years back, they said these no-follow links now, although they don't pass any value, they're now a hint, right? They're a hint that there is some value in there. And so if you have a link from a press release or from a news site that says it's no-follow, but it's pointed to your website and it's a well-known site, Google goes, okay, well, there's a bit of a hint there. And so what we're seeing now is, and we've been suggesting this to our clients recently as well, is let's do some of this. Let's do more. Let's do press releases. Let's do real press releases, because the price of paid ads these days, I have a roofer and an AC person, they're spending $50, $60 a click, get people to their website. And most of the clicks are junk, or the ones that come through, they're looking for their brand name. Maybe it's just super expensive. And, you're going to get that one person, maybe they do something, right? Press releases, though, you might spend $350 for a press release. It goes out to 1,000 outlets. It may get to a journalist's desk, and who knows, you may actually get picked up if it's valuable, interesting, newsworthy. You may actually get picked up and get in the newspaper, get on a radio show, get on a television show, become the dog trainer. This is my ex-wife. Back when we first moved down to Tampa, we started what we called Canine Campers, and it was a free dog training session in the park. And the original writer of the press release wanted to cover how she left corporate America and started a dog training. Like, no. We want you to talk about canine campers, doggy training, a doggy camp. And it turned out to be like the feel-good story of the day. And she got 2 different newspaper things, a couple of radio shows, a couple of live TV shows during the day here in the Tampa Bay area. Even at one point, we got from a congressman, a thing came in the mail saying, thank you for the service, for this beautiful service you're offering. We were like, okay, and it was just a silly thing, it's just a silly feel-good story for the day. And it blew up for her. It really established her right away. And then what happened later on is we use these news clippings saying, as seen on this, and this. And now when people are coming to their website, oh, wow, look, she's been interviewed by this one and this one, this one. All of a sudden it adds that credibility to her, right? And out of nowhere, she's in business. And just by a simple press release. And so we're going back now with our clients and going, hey, look, you've got a new location that you start, or you've got this going on. Or one of my AC guys, he's talking about, I guess there's new Freon. I don't know if you remember a few years back, Freon was changing and it was really expensive and they changed to a new refrigerant. Well, there's another new refrigerant coming out too, and all the old refrigerants are going to go away. So if your system blows out and you need new refrigerant, you get a new system. And so we're writing content about that. And the goal is, well, let's put a press release out. Let's see if we can get some news coverage. If not, we can at least get some links that are going to be temporary, because news links tend to, fade away over time, like Twitter fades away over time, right? And these new links here, although there'll be no follow, they're a hint from a news source that's local, right? That you're doing something, that you have value here. And those can really help boost your authority, boost your trustworthiness, even though you're not getting all of that juice that they call it. You're still seeing the hint, and Google's seeing a lot of it. And it's starting to become helpful again. So what's old is new again. So we're actually starting to recommend press releases, as long as they're newsworthy, to my clients again. And it seems to be helping.
Interesting. All right. So now when you are linking either internally on your own website or even externally to other websites, do you want your own links to be follow or no follow, or what's the strategy there?
So internal links, you almost always want to be what they call do follow, right? There is no do follow command. It's the absence of having a no follow as a do follow. We got to give it some kind of a name, right, to differentiate that. External links, you only want to no follow anything that's like a paid ad or anything that, you are somehow monetarily involved. Okay. In fact, years ago, Forbes actually got slammed for having do follow links on their website, pointing out to other, they were getting paid. And then now they're basically selling page rank in Google's eyes. You're actually giving juice to them. And they said, no, you can't do that. That's not what we can do. That's where the no follow kind of came about. The idea of you're not going to pass value. Google has since updated a little bit, and you can say, hey, this is an ad, this is a sponsor, that kind of thing. So links that are going out to sponsored stuff, links that are going out where you may be getting paid or commission, those should be no followed. But if you're just linking out to like a great article that you wrote and you have, you would like to pass some value or some trust or some authority to that person, by all means, don't put a no follow in. Let that person, like, you're putting it there because you found value in it in the first place. And so give them some value by allowing those do follows. Now, be careful. We've seen things where folks that are doing, bringing in a bunch of guest blog posts, bringing people into guest posts for them. And in exchange for the content and the writing, they're linking out to their site like 3 or 4 times in the post. I've seen people get penalized for that. The goal isn't to add value or content. The goal feels like, well, I'm going to give you content in exchange for a link, and that's against terms of service. Can't do that. Okay. It's one thing to offer up maybe in the footer, here, Steve Scott there's this guy here and he has this site here and here's his background. Sure. But if you start using keywords in the content and linking out to pages of the website, that's a whole different world, and Google could frown on that. And if you do too much of that, you could get penalized, like a manual penalty. So you want to avoid those kind of things. So do no follow links that are sponsored or advertisements or where you're not looking to pass value to them. Do follow links where you want to give credit where credit is due and you want to add value. And internally, you will never get penalized for internal no follow links and do follow links unless you're like, and we've seen this bunch of keywords at the bottom of the page, like 100 keywords, and everyone's linking out to other page. And yeah, don't do that. That would be considered spammy. You don't want to do that.
Gotcha. Steve, the SEO, I know, is just, if you're hearing a lot of this for the first time, it's probably like you're drinking from a fire hose. Because I mean, I remember learning all this for the very first time when we were building our first website. And it was like every time I learned something, it was just the tip of the iceberg. And there was always so much more to learn. And I know that we're coming to the end of the episode, and you have a resource for our audience to help them to learn all this, don't you?
Yeah, so I've got a couple things. So one thing I'm going to give you guys, I have a link you guys can put up. It's just a dtpodcast.stevescottseo.com. I'm going to give you a free hour class where you're going to learn about internal linking, what links are, how to go about getting them some ideas for them, what types of links and so on. Totally free for you guys. But I also, I do agency work consulting, but I put together over my 25 years of experience, I have a membership program with over 80 hours of content total. Q&As, FAQs, website audits, and everything that we talked about. All the things that we've covered are basically covered in the classroom in different things. So how to do keyword research, how to use Google Search Console, how to get external links, what kind of links you should be getting, what no follow and do follow are. All that stuff that we've talked about is all embedded in there. You get access to me directly. It's not like you're on your own. Here's a course. You can ask me questions. You can come to our free Q&As once a week. You can get your website audited once a month. You can meet up with me for time and so on to kind of understand things. So giving you guys a free class, so you can check it out. And if you do want to come take a look at the membership, it's a 14-day free trial. So there's no risk. You can check it out for 14 days. Look at any of the content you want. If you want to come in, suck it up for 14 days and then cancel, that's up to you. No problem. I hope you stick around, of course, if you do. But, and then we're constantly adding new stuff. So you mentioned earlier, AI overviews, answer engine optimization, that's all coming down the pipe. And we've got 3 new master classes coming up as well. So, on content development, which is huge, local search, which is huge, and Google Search Console. We're going to go through the whole Search Console, really help you understand what Google sees, what the problems are, how to fix them, how to use it for keyword research. So all of that is coming as well. So
we appreciate that, Steve. This has been a great conversation. Folks, you might want to, it is drinking from a water hose, so feel free to rewind a little bit and go back to the beginning, listen to it maybe a couple times, let it all soak in. But this has been a great conversation, Steve. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. For show notes and information about today's guest, head to digitaltrailblazer.com. Now, if you love this episode, if you got some value, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe. And be sure to share this episode with anyone you know who could use help to build their business. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.